On today's episode here at Reckless Lifestyle, we're going to be sharing some sad, unfortunate news. The Busa is having to go away. Alright guys, unfortunately we're having to put the Busa away for a little while, so let's get her ready and prepared and we'll walk her over to the storage unit. So to prepare the bike for storage, I've done a few things, one of which includes removing the battery. We've pulled that out and stored it, but before having pulled it out, we actually ran the bike for a little while. I put a fuel stabilizer in and I've topped off the tank. I've checked all my fluids, my brake fluid. Unfortunately, I don't have any pressure in my clutch anymore. The rear reservoir has plenty of fluid, that's good to go and taken care of. The chain I don't need to maintenance, well, because why? I don't have a chain, and I'll tell you why. As you can see, I've got a small puddle. I know it's coming from the the clutch reservoir. I ended up cracking it, and some of that might be oil from the crankcase. Speaking of oil, I've replaced the oil with fresh fluid so that it's not sitting in storage with corrosive material eating away the inside of my engine. So I drained everything out, replaced it with fresh fluid, and I think she's good to go and ready. Alright guys, we've got the bike ready for the most part. Time to head over to the storage unit. Well, we've got ourselves a small walk ahead of ourselves, and we're just gonna take our sweet little time. There ain't in no hurry. This might get a little tiring though. Walking the bike while I'm sitting on it. I don't know if I want to do this. Well, we'll see how it goes. So apparently, when you're pushing a motorcycle about a mile away from your house to a storage unit, out here in the country, people like to stop and say hi. As you saw just a second ago, that fellow was making sure I was doing all right, make sure I didn't break down or needed fuel or anything, and offered to trailer the bike over there for me. It's a beautiful day out. Helpful people out in the countryside. You're awesome. I am not in shape. I am almost there. I'm at the front gate, but I had to stop because this next section is going to require a little bit more tact. It's mostly mud and rocks. This ought to be fun. Yay! You know, pushing a 525-pound bike, granted it's on wheels, might be easy up and down your driveway. Thankfully, this stretch of land that I just did was flat and not uphill. That was still a chore. My shoulders hurt, and the fact that I'm ridiculously tall and pushing a very low to the ground bike doesn't make this any easier. I don't know if you can actually see that, but I am standing flat-foot. There is a foot between me and my crotch. I don't know if tall people should be riding motorcycles, but guess what? They do, because they're fun! Now I just gotta find the energy to push it in the rest of the way. Let's see how this goes. Well, we made it, didn't we, Ava? Now we get to put the bike away. In a perfect little space right there. Looks like we get to move a few things around before we can toss the bike in. And of course, we have to avoid the icy puddle. These are paddles for my ATV. We get to pull these out because we might be getting ready for the dunes. It's dune season. Ha ha ha. All right, that about does it for us. Let's get the bike in here. Ooh. All right, this is gonna be a chore. Again, we've got to get the bike, the Busa, over this wandering puddle. Make sure we work our way around all the mud and try to get it in. Let's see what we can do. Ooh, look, ice. That's a lot of ice. That was fun. Barely fits. Now I gotta get it on the stands. I'm probably gonna have to scoot you forward a little bit. This is barely hitting. Oh, look at that beautifully gorgeous dirty tire. That's awesome. And yeah, we might have to end up moving that guy. In retrospect, I probably should have done this earlier this year, but before winter hit, I actually thought that I might have been able to repair and fix the bike. Because initially, I thought I only had a throttle housing leak. Earlier this year, I guess last year, 2019, I was goofing around a little bit too much and ended up snapping the chain on the Busa. The chain wrapped, thankfully didn't hit me, wrapped through the front sprocket, and I think it smashed the clutch housing and cracked it. However, that was my initial assumption. As of the other day, I was more inclined to think that I may have cracked the crankcase. That was a little depressing. I actually don't want to dig in underneath the plastics and pull stuff apart to look because I'm afraid. And I've got a lot of other projects going on. I run 2 other businesses. I need to get those up and going first before I can worry about my addictive toys. I've prepped the bike for as much as I can for storage for what might end up being like 2 years. Oh, that's depressing. Riding bikes is like the one hobby I have that I love more than anything. I've come to the realization that if I work my ass off for the next 2 years, I could be pretty well off. And I'm willing to sacrifice the thing that I love almost more than my own wife and child. I'm totally kidding, that's sarcasm. But I do love riding a lot. And the fact that I'm willing to sacrifice something like this might tell you how motivated I am to get my own businesses running. On that note, storage tips. I might have mentioned it earlier. We've done fuel in the tank, filled it, topped it off with a stabilizer. We ran the bike for about 5 minutes. We have flushed and cleaned out all the old oil. So we've cleaned that out, thrown some seafoam through it to make sure that the engine case was cleaned before putting in fresh oil. We've checked all of our other fluids. We've got our brake reservoirs front and rear. Unfortunately, like I mentioned, the hydraulic fluid won't matter too much because I cracked the case. So when the time comes, I'll need to replace it and the lines because I'm sure it'll probably get mucky and gross. I've pulled the battery out and I've got it stored. I'm gonna throw the bike up on stands. That way I don't get any flat spots in the tires. Once all that nasty mud dries out, I'll come back in spring and I'll clean it up. I'll actually sweep out the ground here. That way I don't get any nasty residue buildup on the bike. I'll cover it as well once I can get all that gross nasty mud off too. it'll be time to say goodbye to the Busa for a while. Stay tuned, y'all. All right, let's get this beast up on its stands. Well, that's all for now. One day, when I have my own house, I'll be able to store it there. I won't have to walk it a mile in order to get it put away. But fortunately, I do not have the pleasure of owning my own home just yet. So, I've got to make do. I've got to make do with what I have without spending too much money. So, for those of you looking for inexpensive tips on how to store your motorcycle, find yourself a closed storage unit. If you ever need to walk it there, you can. This one that we have is a 4x8 or 5x8. Nothing huge, nothing crazy, but if you organize it well, you can actually fit quite a lot of stuff in here. And now the Busa is gonna have to make do with what I also have. Let's get her all ready to go. And we'll say goodbye and see you later.